10 minutes.
Deputy Matthews suggests that people should maybe vote for this piece of legislation under protest. I think a far more effective protest would actually be to vote against it, because it's clear that the hierarchy throughout Europe are certainly not listening to the damage and devastation that the continuation of their policies is continuing to mete out on the shoulders of ordinary people. And, you know, we refer to this as the bailout for Greece and dealing with its terms, but in reality, as other deputies have pointed out, this is about the continuation of bailouts for banks and the continuation of a process that's seen Greece stripped, raped and pillaged in a manner slightly different, but the effect is the same in terms of ourselves here in Ireland. And, you know, to have this dressed up as some sort of a benevolent act to help out the Greeks, as some deputies suggested, to me really takes the biscuit and is an insult to injury. Because what's at issue in my mind in this debate is about ratifying the continuation of policies that have brought Greece certainly to its knees, but indeed have done enormous damage throughout the economies in the rest of the Eurozone as well. And I do think that we have to take time in this debate to examine in detail where these policies have brought Greece already. Where at the end of last year, an economy which had experienced 5 years of recession, 3 years of unprecedented austerity being meted on the shoulders of its people. And for what? Did these policies succeed in transforming the Greek economy? Well, you could say, yeah, they certainly did. If your definition of transformation is throwing a society backwards, is pauperising a generation and leaving young people of today with the prospect of being poorer than their parents were for the first time in decades, where the official statistics would reveal now that 1 out of every 3 Greek people live below the poverty line. An absolutely phenomenal figure. Deputy Daly referred to the unemployment figures, officially at a quarter of the population, but in reality nearer the truth to being 30 to 35% unemployment, and obviously with youth unemployment being massively more than that, well over 50%, unemployment amongst women at 30%. And you know, there has to be a time where you stop and ask yourself, what an indictment of neoliberal policies, that the talent and creativity of ordinary people, of young people, is being left to rot, while there are many necessary and important social functions and tasks which could be undertaken and they are not being done. And why? Because of, if you like, they are being sacrificed on the altar of deregulation, privatisation and a conscious rowing back of the gains in the welfare state that had become the norm in post-war Europe. And what we're looking at in this bill really is a solution being put forward of, in reality, more of the same, where the Greek government passed a budget with another austerity cutback of 9.4 billion being taken out of the economy this year in return for 44 billion of a so-called bailout. Now, that isn't money for nothing. The terms of that bailout might be slightly reduced in this bill, but it's not money that's going to benefit any ordinary person in Greece. It's not money that's going to benefit any public services at all. In fact, this money is being borrowed to repay debts that were borrowed previously. And, you know, when you think about it, the scale of the con that is being undertaken here, further borrowings being put on their shoulders to pay debts that are there already. And in return for getting that money to pay a debt that wasn't a debt of the ordinary people, sound familiar? Obviously, we're used to it here as well. The Greek people have to pay in further austerity, where the adjustment this year and next year that they've signed up to is going to mean further cuts in public sector wages and pensions, further cuts in health and education and so on a system whereby in some sectors of the health service, workers have not been paid for 6 months. 6 months without wages, but they're still going into work in the hope maybe that the situation might turn around or some private hospital or something might come in and pick them up. Where pensioners, sick people can't get basic medication. It would be like a cataclysmic, really, collapse of the economy, with stories now in all of the international newspapers about the devastation that people are experiencing. And you have to say, what is the logic of this type of economics, where in the last quarter of last year, GDP in Greece fell by over 70%, 7%. Now, the decline isn't actually halting in eco, it's getting worse. And, you know, whatever about enduring those types of conditions, if you thought that it was going to result in things getting better, the idea about doing it and paying that price in order to enrich those at the top who caused the problem in the first place, well, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that is absolutely lunacy. And I salute the Greek population in its struggle against this type of madness, against a madness where we've seen the cumulative shrinkage and collapse of that economy of over 25% in the last number of years. And in reality, the proposition before us is about a society going backwards. And sometimes you have to call a halt. Austerity isn't working. There cannot be an economic recovery for the people of Greece or for the people throughout the rest of Europe by a continuation of these policies. Now, we could be here all night describing what is going on in that country, how homelessness has rocketed, 40,000 people homeless in Athens now at the moment. Unbelievable figures, absolutely multiplying by many opportunities. We've talked about the suicides, about people leaving their children back in orphanages and so on because they can't look after them. And the Greek government's solution to that is to impose further punitive taxation on its population. And clearly there must be a link here somewhere. The Irish government must have sort of sat in and took a few notes. Well, they should take a few further notes as well, because the property tax in Greece, which has caused such enormous hardship, has resulted in a situation where one power company has disconnected the electricity of 30,000 homes per day as a result of enormous bills, a huge amount of that bill being due to the fact that the property tax is collected through the electricity. Draconian scenario. But the lesson is a lot of those have stayed disconnected because people don't have the money, and the government should draw the conclusion from that, that you can't get blood out of a stone. You can bring in any draconian legislation you like, but if people don't have the money, you can't get it out of that, and you might take note of that in our own situation here. You know, when we read the briefing paper to this bill, you know, we are told that it's there to facilitate, in the public interest, the financial stability of the EU. Rubbish. It's not there for that at all. It's there to back up the private interest of big business and the banking system throughout the EU. Let's call a spade a spade. That's what it's about. 17 countries in the Eurozone ended up last year in a double-dip recession. This has nothing got to do with benefiting ordinary people. It's about the continuation of neoliberal capitalism, which is not doing the common good any good, but it is about backing up the interests of the minority. Now, I don't have time to deal with the Irish debt situation. Obviously, other deputies have referred to it, but the fact that we too are shouldering such a massive burden of bank debt, far in excess of anybody else in Europe, has to be taken on board by this government, and clearly isn't. And to me, the problem will continue as long as we look at things the wrong way around. There can't be any recovery based on the type of policies being put forward in this document for Ireland or indeed for Greece. And we should start the other way around, not about reducing the terms of the debt, but about walking away from repaying that debts that will not be repaid. If countries can borrow to repay debt for private banks, why can't they go and borrow to invest in jobs and job creation and a public programme of public works? Because that is the only way in which the situation will turn around. It's through stimulus, it's through investment, it's through putting people back to work. And it's quite clear now that there can't be any turnaround without a break of the present system as it exists, and indeed not just in Greece, but throughout Europe, because it's quite clear from the catastrophe in Greece that the circumstances that are unfolding in Ireland aren't too far away from that place either, and indeed for many countries in southern Europe. And the only way we will get out of it is by banding together across national frontiers to put the interests of the ordinary people ahead of that of the private banks and big business.
The next